So, the new UK budget has just dropped, and let me tell you, it's a big one. It's packed with all sorts of changes that are going to ripple through pretty much everything, from your payslip right down to your energy bills. So, let's break down what this really means for your wallet. And really, it all comes down to this one simple question. Depending on your income, how old you are, and even what kind of car you drive, this budget to either give you a nice little boost or it could add some pretty serious pressure to your finances. We're going to figure out which side you're likely to fall on. First things first, let's just talk about the sheer scale here. The government is bringing in an extra £26 billion. But how are they doing that? Well, it's not just about flashy new taxes. A really key part of the strategy is freezing tax thresholds, which is a subtle, but trust me, a really powerful move that we're going to see affects almost everyone. Okay, so before we dive into the winners and losers, let's just do a quick run through of the big headlines. First step, what's staying the same? Fuel duty is frozen, which is a relief for drivers, and there are no big surprises with rail fares or prescription costs. But the real action is happening elsewhere. The two-child benefit cap is officially gone, and the minimum wage is getting another bump up. These are really targeted changes. You can see they're designed to help very specific groups of people. All right, let's kick things off with the good news. Who are the actual winners in this year's budget? It looks like four main groups come out ahead. We're talking about pensioners, some low-income families, minimum wage earners, and, well, pretty much anyone who pays an energy bill. So let's take a look at why. So here's one of the most widespread benefits. By cutting some of the green levies on energy, the average household is expected to save around £150 a year. That's a direct saving that millions of people are actually going to feel in their pockets. Now this next one, wow, it's a really huge policy shift. Getting rid of the two-child benefit cap directly helps larger families on lower incomes. Before, their support was limited, but now that cap is gone. For some families, this is going to be a massive financial lifeline. Okay, but remember that £26 billion? Well, it has to come from somewhere, right? So now let's flip the coin and look at the other side. Who's going to be feeling the squeeze from this budget? And well, it's a pretty long list actually. This budget creates new costs for middle-income earners, for younger savers, people with certain types of pension plans, owners of high-value homes, and even for drivers of electric cars. And this brings us to that crucial idea I mentioned earlier, fiscal drag. It sounds a bit technical, but it's basically a stealth tax. See, by not raising the income tax thresholds to keep up with inflation, the government makes sure that as your pay goes up, you're quietly dragged into a higher tax bracket. In other words, that pay rise you work so hard for can get completely gobbled up by a bigger tax bill. And just look at this, it's such a clear split in policy. For savers who are over 65, nothing changes. They can still put £20,000 a year into a tax-free cash ISA. But for everyone under 65, that limit is being slashed to just £12,000. That is a huge hit for younger people who are trying to build up their savings. And you've got to remember, these changes aren't just for right now. The budget actually sets the stage for future costs. Starting in 2028, drivers with electric vehicles are going to face a new per-mile tax. And then in 2029, a really popular way of saving for a pension, where you contribute from your pre-tax salary, is going to become a lot less tax efficient. So two really big things to keep on your radar. So let's pull all these different threads together. What is the big picture here? How do all these individual policies add up? And what does it all mean for your personal finances? This really gets to the core tension of the entire budget. On one side, you have the government's official line saying these measures are absolutely essential to fund public services. But on the other side, the reality for so many households is, well, it's pretty simple: a higher tax bill. Yeah, and this quote from the analysis just sums it up perfectly for the average person. Even if you manage to get a pay rise, with inflation still high and all these new tax changes, you might not feel any better off at all. Your raise could just be canceled out. So, if we had to boil it all down, what's the key takeaway here? It's this. If you're a middle-income earner, or really anyone trying to plan for the future with savings and pensions, this budget has direct and pretty significant implications for you. You're really the group most affected by these shifts. Which brings us to our final question, and it's really a question for you. This isn't just about abstract policies. It's about your money, your plans, your future. With these new rules of the game now in place, it might be time to take a fresh look at your budget, your savings, and your long term goals. How are you going to adapt? So, the new UK budget has just dropped, and let me tell you, it's a big one. It's packed with all sorts of changes that are going to ripple through pretty much everything, from your payslip right down to your energy bills. So, let's break down what this really means for your